Hey guys, I'm Anna.
And I'm Brian.
And we are
Those Annoying Vegans!
And boy, have we annoyed so many of you with that last video we did. We're so excited.
Oh, yes.
Well, we hope you're all staying safe and are following safer at home protocols as we are, helping to flatten the curve to stop the spread of COVID-19, which, as we all know, came from our weird obsession with eating animal corpses.
Yeah.
Not being covered enough in the media,
No one's
of course.
really talking about
a lot of people coming up with their own little conspiracy theories. Guys, come on. Influenza, SARS, measles, H1N1, mad cow disease, E. coli, salmonella, like the list goes on.
It's all related to being around animals, being around dead animals. And I know people like to just throw China under the bus. I don't understand this, making fun of another country for their particular animals that they eat.
Yeah.
Or the particular ways in which they handle their dead animal corpses. We don't need to be around dead animal corpses.
At all. I mean, this country is just as bad with certain animals. And no, some people might not eat animals alive. They might not make their torture and abuse as public as other countries do, because it is more normalized in their culture to do that. But we are still subjecting these animals to unnecessary torture and violence.
Confined quarters, they live in their own filth. Farmers are around them when they're in their own filth. Mm-hmm. Slaughter workers are around them when they're in their own filth, slaughtering them.
Yeah, you can try to point the finger, but it's every single country in the world participates in the same violence.
What was the first thing they told us to help stop the spread of this disease? Social distancing. Distance. Don't be near other creatures that are diseased. We should apply that logic and say, oh, if I shouldn't be around a diseased person, maybe I shouldn't be around a diseased non-human animal. We have been self-quarantining, and so the other day we decided to watch Supersize Me 2, Holy Chicken! ! Not morbid at all, because, well, we're home and you guys had already asked us what we thought about the documentary, so we decided to finally give it a watch and let you know what we thought.
And we know, by the way, about Morgan Spurlock's background. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're going to talk about in this video. Feel free to go all out in the comments, but we're not going to touch that because it has nothing to do with the topic at hand, which is animal exploitation.
Nor does it have anything to do with the content of the film. And by the way, as for the content of the film, we will be spoiling it. So if there's such a thing as a spoiler warning for a documentary,
this is it.
This is it.
So go watch the movie if you don't want it spoiled first.
If you do want to watch it, the first thing you should know is that it is not a vegan documentary
by any stretch of
the
imagination. No, and
whatsoever.
Morgan Spurlock is not vegan himself.
Morgan Spurlock does needlessly kill a lot of animals in this documentary in the process of setting up his very own fast food restaurant.
Now, why is he setting up his own fast food restaurant? Especially after Supersize Me 1.
Still eating fast food chicken corpse sandwiches after he almost killed himself eating fast food. So yes, the conceit of the movie is that Morgan Spurlock sets up this fast food chicken restaurant called Holy Chicken, and actually the movie at the end would have you believe that he has all these investors lined up to start all these other franchises of Holy Chicken throughout the country. But actually, according to an article that we found on eater.com, quote, at the end of the doc, Spurlock mentions that he's received calls from potential investors with franchise offers. But as it turns out, Holy Chicken was just a 4-day pop-up. And aside from a similarly temporary run in Manhattan this month, there have been no announcements about plans to open any future iterations of the restaurant. So yes, at the end of the documentary, we're led to believe, oh, he's going to keep opening these restaurants, but
probably not.
No.
He's a documentary filmmaker. What's
Yeah, and also the way that he went about doing it doesn't really seem sustainable, as we'll talk about later in this review.
So Spurlock wants to open a fast food restaurant that is not only successful, but honest and doesn't obscure the truth from the consumer. So the big reveal at the end of all of this is that the marketing materials for his restaurant, from the artwork on the walls to the writing on the cups, the packaging, the menu, the photos, like on the little table centerpieces, for example, they are all true. They are all factual information about where his chickens came from.
Farm to table, technically a giant windowless warehouse with thousands of obese chickens crammed together is a chicken farm. It's so sad.
You can feel better about yourself while eating craveable, greasy food.
They admit to bullshit wording, they admit to fake photos, they admit to even using colors like green and wooden accents that are all marketing tactics just to get the consumer to feel better about their purchases.
By painting these walls this lively shade of green,
We believe our food is fresh and natural. Ultimately, a health halo makes our food seem way better for you than it actually is.
Better food sounds great, means nothing.
So yeah, the health of his food. Also a big topic in this documentary.
Yes, by working with various consultants and strategists and trend specialists, Spurlock discovered that what the trend is that people tend to want to believe that their food is healthy, or they say that they want to buy the healthy option, but they don't actually do it. And since this was a chicken restaurant, he, interviewed a lot of people about whether they would buy a grilled or a fried chicken sandwich, and everyone said they would prefer the fried chicken sandwich, even though they knew that the grilled chicken sandwich was quote unquote healthier. They would still prefer the fried.
Grilled chicken sandwiches, which are the healthier version, are declining.
And I agree that grilled chicken sandwiches are ultimately boring.
Right, and fried chicken sandwiches are growing.
Yeah.
Consumers crave this food. They're not willing to sacrifice taste. But there's this interesting shifting definition of health.
so it's not necessarily 100% healthy for you. It may be bad for you. It's fried, but it's got some vegetables in it, so you feel better about it.
So it's a perception.
It's the perception.
Then I should play into that as much as I can.
And there were, numerous scenes where marketing teams were like meeting with Morgan to determine the use of certain words that he's going to use in his restaurant, like healthy and fresh and natural and artisan. And especially since he's selling fried chicken sandwiches, don't use the fried word, the F word.
Crispy.
Use crispy.
Crispy's the word.
Crispy chicken is better from a marketing standpoint than fried chicken.
This is what really makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Because when people say vegan propaganda, I just I just want to be like, you think you're so removed from this. The reality of the world that you live in, that you think that you are completely immune to all of the marketing that you've absorbed your entire life. I myself have worked in the commercial industry. They have very well-paid teams of people that are dedicated to help companies sell their product. And that involves, like was highlighted in the movie, using certain terms. He was walking down the street and asking people, so what does the word natural mean to you? What does fresh mean to you? It was really funny.
And people thought natural was the same as organic, or people thought that free range meant something that it doesn't.
They're natural. Natural.
Natural?
What does all natural mean?
Born in the wild, eating corn, living life.
All natural, 100% natural.
100% natural.
All natural is the most misleading claim on meat and poultry products.
All natural is organic.
Organic, I guess. The average consumer appears to think all natural is very similar to organic.
All natural, organic is the same.
How the land is treated, how the animals are treated, what they're fed, whether they get antibiotics. It means none of those things.
And on the topic of all of the, bull marketing terms, Morgan Spurlock would call the USDA and ask them, like, hey, what do I need to do to classify my chickens as organic? And then he found out, well, they can't be organic because they're not being fed organic feed.
In fact, the feed they were being fed contained pork.
Since my chickens are already on a non-organic diet that includes pork meat, it has some pork in my chicken feed. Pork-fed chickens. Sadly, that means they can't be called organic.
So for all the people out there who don't eat pork due to religious reasons, just know that the chicken you're eating might be eating pork, and therefore you're eating pork.
No.
We've known this. Like, cows eat feed as well that not only contains other animal parts, but contains dead cow.
And Morgan dismissed that right away. He was like, well, organic's going to be way too expensive. I'm not going to do that. But can I call my chickens natural?
All natural, according to the United States Department of Agriculture, means minimally processed, no artificial ingredients. Only means what happens to the product after the animal is killed and has nothing to do with how the animal is raised.
Can I call my chickens humanely raised?
For some things, like humane, they allow the producer to define the claim.
So I'm going to say humanely raised means chickens raised humanely on a family farm in a stress-free environment. Our farmers always handle the birds with care and respect.
Can I call my chickens free range? In free range, they told them straight up.
Is there anything about the size of the enclosure?
Not that I'm aware of.
USDA permits the term free range so chickens have access to the outdoors for at least some part of the day, whether the chickens choose to go outside or not. Here it is. Free range.
Probably about 10 to 12 square feet, maybe, total. Yeah. And then it just so happens that the corral line in his restaurant, because he took over what used to be a Wendy's. So they have that little, like, you know...
Where you form the line.
Where you form the line. That area was roughly the same space as his free-range area.
You guys are in free range, though. This is the exact same amount of space we gave our chickens to be free range.
All of these words, they're all bull.
So now my free-range, cage-free, no hormones added, humanely raised, 100% natural chickens can get the USDA's seal of approval. Some pretty good bullshit right there.
And he admits to them being bullshit in his restaurant. The goal, and he admits this flat out too, is that he wanted to come up with an unhealthy fried chicken sandwich that seemed healthy so that his business could be successful. He even went as far as to brush charcoal grill marks on the fried chicken sandwiches to give them the appearance of being grilled. And then he told people he was doing this.
Yeah.
Told them those grill marks are fake.
And he also called it the crispy grilled.
Yes.
Which, by the way, was still fried, but they just
yeah.
replaced the word fried with crispy.
Yes. I can't remember if it was a piece of chicken flesh that had been grilled and then deep fried, or at one point he tried deep frying it and then putting it on the grill to get the grill marks, but that didn't work out very well, so that's when they went to the brushing of the grill marks. It's all fake.
It's all fake.
It's all marketing crap to get you in the restaurant. He even went to many other fast food restaurants like Wendy's and McDonald's and Chipotle and Subway.
And he took what worked.
Yeah.
He was with a marketing team, a strategy team, and they analyzed, you know, the look of the restaurant. This is all stuff, by the way, I covered in my hospitality course in college, 101, by the way. Like, what does it look like? How's the lighting? What are the colors? What's the atmosphere? What kinds of people walk in? What kinds of people? It's all planned.
And the photos are very important because they'll take a fried chicken sandwich with like mayo and cheese and bacon, and they'll put it in a photo with a bunch of salads around it. But you're not eating the salads.
Oh, and this part, by the way, I have been a witness to this. When I used to work background on fast food commercials, they have these trays of the burger. I think they call it the hero burger. I forget. There's a term for the burger that will be used on camera. It's like the star burger. The principal will bite into once, spit it out in the spit bucket, and then throw the rest of that burger away. That's no longer to be used on camera. Because what they do is that they painstakingly make this burger look beautiful for camera by using different chemicals and glues and shines and paintbrushes. So you can't actually eat that. Everybody knows that. You know, the burger in the picture doesn't look like the burger you get in the packaging. So let's get to the nitty-gritty of the film.
Yes, I would say the most upsetting part of the documentary was the part where he showed the process of buying these baby chickens who had just hatched out of their eggs and raising them for 6 weeks and then sending them off to slaughter. This was the most heartbreaking part for us, especially as vegan activists who have witnessed thousands of 6-week-old chickens being ushered to their deaths into a slaughterhouse. But he wanted to show the process from start to finish.
Granted, he didn't show the slaughter footage.
No.
We can say that.
No. He had a cute little animated cartoon transitions that he would use. So he had a little animated chicken that was like on a conveyor belt going through to the slaughter at the end. Wonder why he didn't want to show the real slaughter footage in his documentary.
I don't know.
Wonder why he didn't want to put that in his marketing materials.
However, the part where they were cramming them into the cages to put them on the trucks was pretty heartbreaking. He even showed 4 chickens who had died of heart attacks.
Yeah.
Just in the process of being chased around, the commotion and the noise.
Yes, these are real victims. These are real deaths that he caused for the purpose of making this documentary. Not something to be applauded whatsoever. He actually showed how difficult it was to even obtain chickens from a hatchery because, as he highlights in the movie, there's what's called big chicken. There's 5 major corporations that controlled 99% of all chickens in the United States.
Tyson, Purdue, Cook, the other 2.
And 2 more.
Yeah.
We'll list them here. Ding, 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 ding. These companies want all of the control over all of the chickens. So they don't want independent farmers, small-scale farmers to be able to get their hands on chickens and raise them and sell them for a profit. They want to control the entire marketplace. He called around, looking for places that would sell him chickens from a hatchery. And this is something that we bring up when people say, well, what about backyard hens, backyard eggs? Well, those chickens have to come from a hatchery. You have to get them from somewhere. Chickens don't just
get born
in
the forest.
They're not running around in the wild. These are domestic animals, and these companies have very tight control. And I believe they also said just between Wendy's, McDonald's, and Chick-fil-A, if you work out the math, basically 5 chickens are murdered every second. 5 chickens.
Just
5
those
chickens.
3 companies.
5 chickens. And it's all because people perceive chicken to be healthy.
So Spurlock ends up finding an independent hatchery, and then he rents a chicken house from an Alabama farmer, and he grows these chickens for 6 weeks.
They show the chicks arriving to the farm, and they're in these cardboard boxes, and Morgan is like putting it on the ground and like helping them out of the box, and the farmer that's lending Morgan, the house to keep all the chickens in, they're just dumping these chickens, just taking a cardboard box full of baby chickens and just turning it upside down, dumping it on the floor.
It stimulates them, he said.
Yeah, just toss them.
What does
Stimulates
that mean?
them.
These things we make up.
Yes, and the farmer even stepped on a few of these baby chickens.
Exploded them under his feet.
He said, well, yeah, he ran under my foot. What am I supposed to do? Moving on.
If they were baby humans, you would be like, I don't...
Yeah. As Morgan was.
Yeah.
I mean, Morgan was being very cautious,
gentle,
very gentle. He was trying to be nice to these animals. The farmer was like...
He's jaded. He's completely, he's done this for years. And when you do that for as long as some of these farmers have, and that's where all this terrible slaughterhouse footage comes in, they have to develop these coping mechanisms in order to do their job, which involves objectifying the animal. At
every stage, these birds are objects, they're commodities, they're things to sell for profit. As soon as we start realizing, oh, wait a minute, no, they're living beings, they're sentient, they experience pain and joy, and maybe this is, I don't feel good, then you're gonna lose money. They even told Morgan that when he was sending them off to slaughter. He said, is it weird that I feel bad for sending these birds off to slaughter? And the farmer said, no, it's not weird at all. It would be weird if you didn't feel bad, but this is your first.
It's your first time.
He's like, this is your first time. Once you do it a couple hundred times, you get used to it. Yeah. I mean, that is the conditioning. Yeah. That's the brainwashing, the conditioning from a farmer's mouth. He was the same farmer that actually said, as the chickens grow up and you see them start to die from heart attacks, that's a good thing.
A lot of chickens, when they're growing really fast, it'll form fluid around the heart and they'll die with a heart attack.
Yeah.
Now, if we weren't having any heart attacks, we'd say, well, they're not growing too fast or something wrong.
It's not often that you hear they're doing well, so they're having heart attacks.
Right. Which is a good thing in the chickens.
See, bigger is better. It's the American way.
This is the level of brainwashing, not only on the part of the chicken farmers, but the consumers. Like, the only reason they're farming these chickens this way is to keep up with demand.
Now, this part of the movie reminded us of that other documentary we reviewed, Eating Animals, executive produced by Natalie Portman, in that it highlighted the plight of the farmers, how mistreated they are, how indebted they are, what a horrible business it is. The farmer who Morgan Spurlock worked with actually got a $5,000 deduction in his pay once Purdue found out he was working with Morgan Spurlock, even though he had the heaviest chicken out of all the farmers in their neighborhood. It's called the tournament scheme, or the tournament.
The tournament system.
One of the things that bothers me the most is that, yes, you absolutely feel sorry for these farmers.
Of course.
Because they are victimized by these corporations. But none of them really admit to doing any wrong in terms of, you know, the farmer is always the victim, not the animals they are victimizing. Perhaps, you know, they shouldn't be in this business at all. And many of them have realized that they shouldn't be in this business at all.
Yeah.
But for the wrong reasons. Animals are
always
not...
has to do with money.
Yeah, it has to do with money. It has to do about them and supporting their families, but not about the billions of innocent lives who are sent to slaughter, who have been genetically manipulated to literally have their bodies kill them. Because they grow so big and so fast in such a short amount of time that their hearts can't support their growth.
Yeah, that was actually interesting in the documentary. They took some of these birds that had died, because in a chicken farm, birds die all the time. We've witnessed many birds that have died on the slaughter truck on the way to the slaughterhouse. It's just a reality of farming chickens, is that you will lose a certain percentage of animals. And they had a veterinarian do an autopsy on a few of these birds and cut them open and show you how their hearts had failed, how their hips had broken, how their bones were bent under the weight. Because, as they point out in the documentary, if human beings grew at the same rate as broiler chickens, who are the chickens that are raised for meat, I believe they said a 2-month-old human being would weigh over 600 pounds. You can't even conceive of a 2-month-old weighing 600 pounds.
Click on, go on Hulu and click on My 600-Pound Life. These are adults who are 600 pounds. Imagine a baby. That just wouldn't be possible. They would die. They would die. And these chickens are dying. And the vet even listed all these diseases that happen in these chickens due to selective breeding.
As with any bird that is supposed to grow, you know, so fast, you can have a lot of problems with their growing. You can have obesity, bone issues, sudden death syndrome, heart attacks, Gumboro disease, Newcastle disease, salmonella, infectious bronchitis, mycoplasmosis, many different strains of E. coli, campylobacteriosis, pasteurellosis, or green muscle disease.
That is so wrong.
However, while eating animals offered the solution of small-scale farming to combat big chicken, Supersize Me 2 offers no solution. And that's ultimately our main problem with this documentary and with Morgan Spurlock. He is not advocating for stopping any of this violence and cruelty, both towards the chickens and the farmers. In the final scene, we get to see the consumer's reaction to his honest marketing, and no one really seemed to care.
People thought it was funny. People laughed about it.
Yeah.
There was like a lot of people going, "Oh, that's so sad. Anyway, There
was the little table centerpiece with the picture of the actual chickens, like the white Cornish chicken, too heavy to stand, by the way. And someone was like, I don't want to look at that, and they kept eating.
I don't want to see that. I'm not sure if I really want to know.
Yeah, you're still eating it.
No one seemed appalled. No one vowed to stop eating chicken. One person said they weren't going to finish their meal.
I think another person said they'll think about it the next time they eat chicken, if they eat chicken. There were no reactions like, "Whoa, this is horrible. I don't want to contribute to this anymore."
And why is that? Let's examine that, because I feel like this is what the entire documentary, what's the takeaway here? Was Morgan Spurlock really transparent? I mean, let's not forget that very skilled marketing teams and strategists were involved in helping make this 4-day pop-up a success, which is what Spurlock was trying to highlight all along. But they still used the same gimmicks as other fast food restaurants, the bright colors, the funky fonts, the craveable flavors as they called it earlier in the movie. But if they really wanted to be transparent, they might have played slaughter footage. I don't know, the sounds from inside a slaughterhouse. Or they might have used colors that really depicted the plight that these animals endure, like reds and browns and blacks. But would people have wanted to eat there?
He was trying to lie as much as he could, and then in the reveal, in the grand opening of the restaurant, show that he wasn't lying because he's putting it all over the walls and all over the marketing stuff.
Yeah.
But
so I'm telling the truth.
I'm telling the truth.
Pretty colors.
Yeah.
People at first didn't even seem to notice until they started like really reading, you know?
Yeah. And that goes to show like how much a lot of that material is, you don't actually read what's on the walls at restaurants. I feel like you just absorb
it. Yeah.
And when people started to really read, they were like, wait a minute, this word, this word, this word, but those words are just meant to make you feel better about your choices. And they'd be like,
This really points to the ignorance of the consumer, you know? So again, when you call it vegan propaganda, think about you and all the propaganda that you've absorbed to lead you down. Like, there's no way. All of us have absorbed that propaganda throughout our lives.
So does learning the truth make a difference? Or is marketing that powerful that people will just always ultimately choose their own personal satisfaction over the well-being of others?
I feel like that's the very thing we're being tested on right now as we try to combat the coronavirus and speciesism and carnism. Are we able to place the well-being of others first? Some people can't even do that with other humans.
Let alone non-human animals. It's a long way to go. Can we get humanity to care about non-human animals? Obviously, we think so.
Yeah, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this.
It is unfortunate that it has taken humanity this long to get to where we are now, but we're here now. Information is very powerful. We have a very powerful tool called the internet that we can use to disseminate information in ways that we never could before. I mean, all of these documentaries, they're highlighting how horrible these companies are to the farmers, and we're hopeful that in highlighting how horrible the companies are to the farmers, we can also get people to connect with how horrible the industry is to the animals. And none of this is necessary. None of this is needed.
The more informed you are, the more informed your decision. The truth can be difficult, but ignoring it is clearly not the solution.
So that's it for this video. That's our review of Supersize Me 2, Holy Chicken. Very unethical documentary, very unethical way to go about doing this, is to subject these innocent beings to a life of misery for 6 weeks and then murder them and then serve their corpses to people just to make a cheeky point about marketing. Certainly not a vegan documentary, but an enlightening one in that...
Eye-opening.
Yeah, it really showed how powerful these corporations are, it showed how powerful marketing is, and it showed just how uninformed the general public is. We want to feel like we're buying something good, but really we just want to buy something that's tasty. That's it, and many people admitted to that throughout this documentary.
So did you watch it? What did you think? Do you think his tactics might have inspired people to make different choices, to think twice? What are some ways that you have seen marketing trying to get to you? And some of you might be wondering, well, what about you guys? You're subject to the vegan marketing stuff out there.
Obviously there is marketing on the vegan side of things. There is vegan fast food, there are vegan restaurants, there are vegan products. But what we're doing when we live a vegan lifestyle is we are removing the victim as much as it's possible and practicable. We're taking the victim out of the scenario. We can look at ourselves and say, oh, we're victims of marketing. We're not really victims. If you're bred into existence for the sole purpose of growing to the age of 6 weeks old and then murdered so that someone can eat your corpse, that's a victim.
But we know better, right?
Yeah.
You know better, right?
So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already. And if you want to see what we're up to day to day, you can check out our Instagram page. And if you want to check out any of the cool vegan swag we have on our Etsy store, it is there for your perusal.
And thank you so much to our patrons on Patreon for all your wonderful selfless help. It really helps us do more activism and make these videos and get them out to the world. So thank you.
We'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Oh no, the diaper's in plain view. Can you put it behind the,
I can put it over here.
Daddy's chicken diaper.
To